Okay, grab a red pen and let's go ahead and grade your quiz now. So looking at these first two, number 1 and number 2, actually these first 4, they all have a greatest common factor that can come out, and then you're just going to check to see if there's any further that you can go. So for example, in this first one, do you see it could have been divided by 4 in both terms? So we're going to divide out the greatest common factor of 4, and then what would be left? 4 times what to make 4x, and then 4 times what to make 8, and the sign that goes in the middle is a negative because this other one has a negative. You could have checked your work by multiplying it out to double check that it was correct, but that's not necessary, but that's how you would check your work. So final answer is 4 times the quantity x minus 2. This is a 2-point answer if you got the GCF out front and if you got what was left in the back. Give yourself a score out of 2. Actually, let's do it out of 3. Let's give yourself a point for the 4. Give yourself a point for the front. Give yourself a point for the back. So give yourself a score out of 3. All right, this next one, do you see that a 2 and a y could divide in? And so a 2 and a y goes out front, leaving you inside 3 times y and 5. To double check our answer, you could have multiplied and you check that those match. Give yourself a point if you got the GCF. Give yourself a point if you got what was inside. If you only pulled out the 2 and you left other stuff inside, you could just give yourself like at least 1 point for trying something. Like give yourself a 1 out of 3 if you got that score. But if you didn't have that exact answer, a 1 out of 3 is the max you could get. All right, on this next one, we're going to pull out a 2, greatest common factor, leaving you n squared plus 5n plus 7. And then you ask yourself, can this 7 be factored? What times what equals 7? It's a prime number. There's only one option. And does that add up to 5? It does not. So all you had to do was take out a 2 and leave the rest inside. 3 terms because the original had 3 terms. So this one's going to be worth 4 points. It's a point for having the GCF in front and then all 3 terms correctly inside the parentheses. How'd you do? The next one, there's a 3 that can go into everything and an x, leaving you 2x squared minus 4x plus 7. And then we check to see if this can do anything further. 14 could be 1 times 14. That doesn't work. 2 times 7, that doesn't work. And so there is no other way to factor this. It was already done. We tried. So it's worth 4 points. Okay. Then we get down into these ones that are being factored, and there is no greatest common factor. So it's just the straight up x factoring. What times what equals 10 and adds up to 7? I hope you thought of the 5 and the 2. For this one, however you did the work is fine. It's a point for the work, a point for the first factor, a point for the second factor. What times what equals negative 24? I hope you thought of 6 and 4. For it to be a positive 2 in the middle, the 6 gets the negative. I'm sorry, the 6 gets the positive. Reverse this. The 6 gets the positive, and the 4 gets the negative. So x plus 6, x minus 4. It's a point for work. If you did box or the x factoring is fine. But however you did the work, it's a point for work, point for the first factor, a point for the second factor. Remember that those can be in any order. What times what equals negative 20 and subtracts to give us negative 1. I hope you thought of 4 and 5. Which one's going to get the negative? This is the x plus 4, x minus 5 factoring. It's a point for work, a point for the first factor, a point for the second factor. What times what makes 32? 8 and 4. They both need to be negative. It's a point for work, a point for the first factor, a point for the second factor. Now these bottom four, it's up to you. Do you want to do backwards box or the X and the T? However you did the work was fine. Let me show you the first two in backwards box, and then I'll show you the last two with the X and the T. However you did the work, though, you're just looking to see if you got the factors. So what times what is 2n squared? We need the 2 times the n. And then what times what equals 6? Let's try 3 and 2 and see how it works out. If we make everything positive, this would be 2n right here, and this would be 6n right here. And so unfortunately that adds up to 8n in the middle, and we only want 7. So we're going to try to switch it around. What if we made this 2 and this 3? This now gives me 4n, and this gives me 3n. And now that does add up to 7 in the middle. So these turn out to be my two factors, 2n plus 3 times the side one, n plus 2. So however you did work here, if you did the x and the t factoring, or if you did the backwards box, and then a point for the first factor, a point for the second factor. I'll show you one more with backwards box, and then I'll go over to the x and the t. What times what equals 3n squared? What times what equals 12? Let's try 3 and 4. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times n is 4. So this is going to give me a 5. Oh, sorry, guys. These are r's, not n's. Anyways, now what signs do I need to do in order to make a positive 5? So this is going to have to be positive 9 and negative 4. 9r minus 4r. That's going to give me the middle term of positive 5r. So 3r squared at the front, negative 12 at the back. Here's my two factors. Sorry for making these look like n's. They are r's. And so 3r minus 4 is one factor, and r plus 3 is the second factor. Point for however you showed the work, point for the first factor, point for the second factor in any order. For these next ones, I'll show you the x and the t work, see what you think. What times what equals 20 and then gives me negative 9? They both need the negative. Now because this has a 2x in front, we need additional work on the factors. So 2x minus 5 is my first factor. It's already reduced. But 2x minus 4, a 2 can divide into that. So my final two factors are 2x minus 5 and x minus 2. Double check when I multiply those in the front and the back that it gives me what I want. And yes, that's my factors. So however you showed the work, whether it's backwards box or the x and the t, it's a point for that and a point for the two factors. If you forgot to reduce the factors and you just wrote x minus 5, x minus 4, you're going to get a 1 out of 3 on this. At least you get a point for work. All right, last one. 6 times 2 is 12. Bottom is 7. What times what makes 12? 3 and 4. Adds up to 7. Remember, we have a 6y this time, so we have to do the t as well. Simplify both these factors. A 3 goes into this one. A 2 goes into this one. Double check the front multiplies, the back multiplies to give us what we want, and that looks good. Point for any kind of work that you did, point for the first factor, point for the second factor. So this is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24 points. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 33, 1, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. 38 points total for the quiz. Give yourself a score out of 38 and then divide to get me the percent. Make sure your name's on there. Make sure all your scores are on there. If you did the whole quiz without showing work, then you are probably going to want to retake the quiz to show work to get the answers. Okay. How'd you do? Upload a copy of this for me right now into the bin.